The Rhythm Heaven series is unique in its variety. Its gameplay involves playing different rhythm games all in a row. There's remixes using multiple games in one, and many games get sequels. But even so, it has many distinct gameplay styles all throughout. Each minigame has its own characters and scenarios, its own music, and a different form of gameplay. Sure, some can blend together, especially in that last department, but the experience varies throughout nonetheless. So, today, I thought, why not rank my 10 favorites? So, that's what I'm going to do. A few ground rules, however. For one, this is just the minigames, no remixes. However, I am judging games on their full repertoire, not just the initial version. That means I'm considering their appearances in remixes to some extent, but more so, I am counting every sequel alongside the original. For example, if I were to include Hole in One on this list, I would consider both versions of it, as well as somewhat consider its appearance in Remix 1 Fever, Remix 9 Fever, Remix 10 Fever, Lush Remix, Left Hand Remix, and Final Remix. Lastly, and this won't apply to a lot, but in terms of games with many versions, I may include one version only. However, unlike sequels, I do not judge it on the merits of the others. For example, if I wanted to include Super Samurai Slice on this list, I could not include regular Samurai Slice. But I would also only be judging Super Samurai Slice 1 and Super Samurai Slice 2, not them all. This is mainly just because otherwise there'd be like 4 versions of Karate Man on this list. As for why it doesn't judge them all, it's mainly just because it feels unfair. If I got to judge it on the merits of them all, Built to Scale, Samurai Slice, and Karate Man would probably be all in the top 5 or so just because of how much weight they hold. Anyway, let's go on to the list itself. Number 10. Tap Trial. In Tap Trial, debuting in the original Rhythm Tengoku, you play as a girl wearing tap shoes and copy the tap dancing of a pair of monkeys. You will wait to hear the monkeys make a sound and then respond appropriately. There is a single, double, and triple tap, as well as a jump that leads into 3 spaced out taps. All of these are used by pressing the A button. During this dance, a giraffe is watching, intrigued by the tapping. I feel like this game is a tad overrated in the community, but nonetheless, it is quite enjoyable. It has a nice pacing to it that keeps you on your toes. This is especially seen in Tap Trial 2. In the sequel, the girl is wearing a more expensive looking outfit, and the monkeys don sunglasses, a tie, and a purple hairdo, making them have a far more punk feeling to them. This has the same gameplay and lacks any new kind of techniques, but it does increase the speed by quite a lot. You will be constantly pressing the A button to keep up with the beat. And the music. In the first version, it is a nice, somewhat electronic sounding tune. But in the sequel, it's at a much faster tempo that gets you more pumped up, and increases the energy to match, by this time being ska. Pick it up! The fast yet jazzy feel really sells it. This pumped up pace can also be felt in Remix 5 of the Game Boy title. And while the other appearances and remixes can feel a lot slower, it has many distinct visual styles in the GBA game. You can see her in a house with pigs. You can see her in a more feudal setting with armored monkeys. You can even see her and the monkeys become bird-like, or swapped out for Ashley, though that is in Megamix. This game also is notable for arguably being a mascot early on, getting prevalence on the box and pamphlet, getting plushies for a crane game, and people argue that she resembles the title characters from both DS and Fever, though I don't really think it's meant to be the same character. But overall, this one is just a fun time. Number 9. Packing Pests. In this Fever game, you play as employee number 333-4-591032, which, if you squint, kinda looks like the phrase, "Eee, a spider." He works in a factory that delivers packages containing treats. As an employee, his job is to sort the contents of the packages. The candy required comes in, but so do spiders. As such, he needs to catch the candy, then drop it in and swat the spiders away. He press the A and B button to catch the candy, and press only the A button to swat the spiders away. What makes this game unique from other games that use different button combinations is that, rather than assuming the default action and having to wait for the cue to do the special input, this one is patternized. It does still give you a cue, of course, but it always goes from candy to spider, making it a more mindless rhythm, allowing you to groove with it more naturally. That being said, you still have to pay attention, as you will hear a voice proclaiming, "Double up." Double up. When this happens, it will send a candy your way, which you have to catch. Then we'll send 2 spiders in a row. This alternating rhythm, with an occasional twist, alongside a nice mediumly paced tune, has a fun vibe to it. It also has a nice sense of giving visual variety by occasionally pushing the camera to the right a bit, letting you see more of the employee's body. It also has a sequel, which takes place at night, is faster, has a funkier tune, and most importantly, adds new gameplay elements. Specifically, occasionally an exclamation point will appear, and toss candy then a spider like normal, but this time it's a bit offbeat. A nice way to spice things up. This game also gets to have some nice appearances and remixes. You still pack candy and spiders, but the walls that previously had pictures pinned to them and such are now Japanese-styled sliding doors, and the box, which previously looked something like you'd get from Amazon, is now a felt-looking crate. It doesn't have any other remix appearances that change its look, but it's also notable in that it begins and ends Fever's 10th remix, placing it as a focus in many internet memes. Number 8. Monkey Watch. Also from Fever, this game may surprise some of you for being on this list. It's fairly notorious, and while most get past it eventually, especially considering it's fairly early on, many would call it the first major roadblock of the game, and find it unfair in many aspects. I did struggle with it somewhat myself on my initial playthrough, but I've grasped it more and more over time, and at this point, I'd say it's enjoyable. Basically, in this game, you play as a monkey attached to the hand of a watch. In each hole of the watch, of which there are presumably 60 as they correlate to the minutes and hours, there is also a monkey. The monkey you play as claps the monkeys in the holes, propelling the hand forward and letting the watch know a minute has passed, or maybe a second with how fast it goes. Hard to say. But regardless, you press the A button to clap, and keep doing that for monkey after monkey, circling around the watch. But along the way, there are also pink monkeys with sunglasses, which make a noise when you are near them. They will be in pairs of 2, and when you hear a certain part of the noise, you must clap both in succession. That's pretty much it, but it mixes things up by having lots of distractions. During some parts, a monkey in an air balloon will fly by. He has good intentions, he's just waving and saying hi, but it ends up blocking a lot of the monkeys, forcing you to rely on the audio. In addition, during some parts the view will zoom out so you just see the arm and the watch, and have to rely completely on the audio. Not to mention the game ends on a part where the music is coming to a close and fading out well zoomed out, then the screen fades out. This means there are a few seconds where it's literally just cues, no music or visuals. I actually once lost a perfect run on this on the very final input, but I got it for real soon after. Unfortunately, there is no sequel to Monkey Watch, but it is used as a central game in Remix 2, opening with them on a clock tower. This is the last of its use besides Remix 10, however. I wish it appeared in Remix 9, as that has pretty much every other Monkey game and every other game from Set 2, but alas, it does not. Overall, this one is just fun, and has a happy feeling despite the difficulty it brings, having an upbeat tune and cute characters. Number 7. Animal Acrobat. Only 4 games into this list, and already 3 feature monkeys, and the second that you play is one of them. It's one of the few new games from Megamix, this one coming from the Donut Tower. In this game, you play as a monkey and jump off of a platform. Then, you swing off circus animals. Press A to grab on, then release A to swing off. Repeat throughout in different intervals depending on the animals. The elephants, with their shorter trunks, are quick swings. However, you have to hold the button for a bit longer when you hang on a giraffe, because of how long their necks are. For the regular game, you just keep swinging between these two until you reach the end and land on the head of a gorilla. This game is also one of the few in Mega Mix to get a post-credit sequel. In the sequel, which is given the title of Jungle Gymnast, it takes place in a natural forest rather than within a circus. Also, you play as a pink girl monkey with a bow in her hair. The elephants and giraffes return with the same timing, but there are also two new timings. Both are other monkeys. A single white monkey will appear, which has even quicker timing than the elephant. But in addition, a cluster of 4 white monkeys will also appear, which has you hold the button for the longest of any combination. At the end of this one is a balloon resembling the one from Monkey Watch. Being in a tower, this game also gets a remix appearance. In Donut Remix, the very start is Animal Acrobat, and you play as a blue monkey with a unique tuft of hair, and swing on elephants and giraffes in some area with giant donuts. The animals are inside of these donuts, and have a more tasty color scheme. The giraffes are blue and purple with ribbons, and the elephants are a cream color with top hats. This one is just fun to play due to the funky, or more ambient in the sequel, sounding music, and just getting into the, quite literally, swing of things. Number 6. Space Soccer. This is, actually somewhat surprisingly, the first game on this list that comes from the DS title. I actually like quite a lot of stuff from DS, as you'll see on the rest of this list, but I guess nothing made it into the top 10 prior to this. This game, which is from the last set of the DS title before the credits, takes place in outer space. You play as a space kicker, standing on the green space platform. A soccer ball is shot into your area, and you have to continuously kick it. The default action has you simply kick the ball, alternating between legs. This is done by tapping the screen to the rhythm. As you do this, the space kicker will say, kick. Occasionally, the kicker will kick the ball a tad higher and say, high kick toe. When this happens, you have to tap and hold, then flick to kick the ball into the air. If at any time you fail an input, the soccer ball will fall downward. It will be missing for a few seconds, then shoot back up. Midway through, other space kickers will appear, kicking at the same time as you. The music is electronic and synthy, matching the overall space mood. The remix that comes in this set is space-themed in of itself, but they actually did change up the visuals a bit, changing the kicker to be in mint green clothing and wearing the wig from Clappy Tree. But that's not the end of it, as this game gets a sequel in the 9th set. Space Soccer 2 has the same gameplay, no new inputs, but it has a totally new theme. Yeehaw, you're a cowboy now.
My name's not Shane, kid.
Standing on a horse platform. The other kickers are cowboys too. The music is more western sounding to match. After this, in Remix 9, the space kicker wears a yellow suit with an antenna. Overall, the flow of this one is just fun, and the music, especially in a sequel, is great and catchy. Number 5. Glee Club. This is one of the most popular Rhythm Heaven games. Glee Club, hailing from the DS title, is on the box art of the DS game. Not to mention, it's in plenty of the marketing, not only for DS, but for the series in general. And its characters, the chorus kids, are somewhat referenced in Fever in the form of Marshall. Not to mention they were quite possibly the lead choice to get into Super Smash Bros. But, despite all this influence, I honestly don't get the impression that many people like this game that much. Some do, I'm sure, but I've seen many say it's overrated or that they don't care about it, and many even find it annoying. But I disagree. I like it. In this game, you play as one of 3 chorus kids. The conductor, who is one of the members from the Clappy Trio, instructs the trio to sing. The first kid will do a set, then the second will copy the cues a set amount of time after, and then you have to do it in the same interval in between the first two. During the game, you actually hold down the stylus onto the screen by default. In order to sing, you release the stylus, then put it back when you want to end the singing. You will have to do it in a variety of both quick and long bursts, based on what the other two members do. Sometimes, the second kid will open his mouth while the first one is still open, and as such when it's your turn, all three will be singing at once. In the original, you kinda just have to logically conclude the timing based on the intervals, but in the Megamix version, the conductor will strike down his baton when it's time. Speaking of Megamix, this version gives it a prequel, giving it a jazzy but shorter track as opposed to DS's more calming piano song. The visuals are the same, black and white with a hand-drawn looking style, including a slight change in the outlines during the mid-frames. Also, only in the DS version, or what is in Megamix called Glee Club 2, but not the prequel, is an additional move. Ever so often, the conductor will say, "Together now," and you will have to flick the stylus upward to scream. In the first remix, visuals are the same, but in the 9th set is Glee Club 2. This has the same gameplay, but music with a more tropical twang. The visuals replace the white with black and the black with orange, and it adds a beach view in the background, adding to this tropical feeling. And in Remix 9, a metallic background is seen, alongside a view into outer space. Lastly, in Megamix's Machine Remix, they're inside a garage and wearing mechanic hats. I can get why people don't love this one, it's fairly simple, but I find it quite charming, and the gameplay of you by default holding the button is very unique, and allows unique transitions into remixes. Number 4. Munchie Monk. Munchie Monk, from the DS title, is in the game's 4th set. In this game, you play as a monk who is training in the mountains. What's he training for? Eating dumplings. I'm not sure how this is training, though it is shown to make him grow facial hair, so perhaps these dumplings are fairly healthy. Or it could just be his more intense form of eating. Specifically, he will hold his hand out and fling the dumplings into his mouth. The people training him will place different types and different amounts of dumplings into his palm. He will tap the touchscreen and he will clap onto his arm, sending it into his mouth. The regular white dumpling comes as a singular, and you touch the screen once, signified by him saying, "One, go." In addition, the trains will supply you with pink dumplings. These are in a pair, so you have to press twice. 2, go. Lastly, they will supply green dumplings. They give out one dumpling, but as you tap to swallow it, they place another, having you tap again soon after. And as you do that, they give out a final one, making it 3, go. The first version of the game is quite short, though still fun. It also appears in Megamix, and in this version, he is given a baby to carry on his back. This game also appears in Remix 4. The dumplings are still dumplings, but the monk is wearing clown makeup and a clown nose. It also takes place in front of balloons and a Ferris wheel, rather than on a mountain top. But this game also gets a sequel. I do like the first Munchie Monk. It's a fun, quick game with cool characters and a nice upbeat track that gets you pumped up. But it would not be this high on the list, and may not be on the list at all, if it was not for the sequel. The gameplay is the same. There is no new gameplay. But this time, rather than training in the mountains, the monk has abandoned that lifestyle and trains in a circus. He's wearing a top hat and a suit, and the audience is full of elephants playing trumpets, matching the even better jazzy new arrangement. It's also an actually average length this time, adding to the fun. I just really like this version, especially the music. It just has this sense of excitement to it. This game is also referenced outside of Munchie Monk a fair bit, as it has an endless game in Fever, and there are definite visual similarities between the monk and the employee from Packing Pests. I don't really think they're meant to be the same character, but it's undeniable that they're meant to reference it in some form. Perhaps they are brothers? But even if it wasn't for those, it would be on this list. Number 3. First Contact. This game first appears in the third land of Megamix, Citrus Land. Because it is a game new to Megamix, it is the last of the row. In this game, you go to outer space. You play as the astronaut, translator Tom, and are on Mars. In this game, an alien will talk, making odd sound effects a certain amount of times represented by alien symbols. After he speaks out in a certain pattern and numbering, he gestures towards you. Then, you copy the speech by pressing A or the D-pad, translating the alien symbols into words with the same amount of syllables. While you are doing this, a team of researchers are watching via a broadcast, and you will see their thoughts. During it, mysterious spacey music plays. There are plenty of call and repeat games in this franchise, but this one is by far my favorite to play. Partly because of the music, but a big part is just the concept. What's building dough or playing the tambourine or growing plants compared to translating an alien? It's just a far more unique take on it. It also has a bit more story to it than most games, but especially the other call and repeat games. Some of the dialogue you translate is fairly generic, but some is more interesting. Like learning that Mars has been visited by humans before, and because of that visit, the aliens grew a liking to pork rice balls. But that's only part of why I like it so much. Another great thing about it is its sequel. Most games on this list have a sequel, but this one is interesting in that it changes the concept and flips it on its head. Taking place in Citrus Tower is Second Contact. Clever title. You are still translating, but this time it takes place on Earth. And the alien is still there, but you play as him. You play as the alien who is on Earth interviewing a human. Specifically, a farmer named Bob. He talks about his life and seems to be rather full of himself, claiming that not all humans look as good as him. He mainly just vents about his love life. Researchers are also watching a broadcast of this game, that these researchers are not humans, but aliens. The music is somewhat similar, but longer, and has a bit of banjo incorporated into the track. In the Citrus remix, the game appears as well. You play as a reporter interviewing some sort of alien that is part orange, and in an area where there are trees that grow oranges. The dialogue is randomized, but just consists of naming random foods. You see a family watching this news report on TV. Overall, this one is just fun and fairly creative. Number 2, Karate Man. So I'm sure almost everyone expected Karate Man to be on this list in some form. Karate Man is very recurring throughout the series, and Karate Joe is the closest thing the franchise has to a main character, at least as a whole. Karate Man is the first game in Rhythm Tengoku, and a different, easier version of it is also the first game in Rhythm Heaven Megamix. Then, it's the last game in Rhythm Heaven for the DS and Rhythm Heaven Fever, before the credits that is anyway. All of these get a sequel, though Karate Man in Megamix's sequel is just the one from Tengoku, retitled as Karate Man Returns. Though, at the end of the game is another sequel, Karate Man Senior. It's the final game before the last remix. The same goes for Karate Man 2 and Fever, also appearing right before the last remix. Not to mention Joe shows up in other places a decent amount. So yeah, if you know about Rhythm Heaven, I imagine most of you expected some form of Karate Man to appear on this list. I said that games like Karate Man may only get one entry on the list, but also only apply for one version. Had that rule not applied, I imagine Karate Man Senior may have made the list, and for sure, Karate Man combos and kicks. But I feel it's better to stick to one. But again, it applies for itself. I am judging it on it, not the other versions. So which is it? Karate Man Combos is very beloved. People enjoy the track Lonely Storm quite a lot, and the gameplay in Combos is quite fun. I agree, it's great. But, personally, for the entry to make the list, I have to choose Karate Man Kicks. I will not deny that Karate Man Combos and Senior might have more intense gameplay, but something about the feel of DS just grabs me more. You play as Joe, like in all of them, and train your karate skills, like in all of them. Also like in all of them, you punch with the A button, or rather, in this case, by tapping, unless it's in Megamix. Inside of a void, in this case one that is blue, you punch pots as they fly at you, as well as other items like soccer balls. Occasionally, the voice will say, hit 3, and you will punch 3 pots in a row. So far, same as the GBA game, though a bit faster paced. But the key new addition is kicking. Not too surprising since it's in the name. But ever so often, a light bulb will fly towards you. After the light bulb is hit, a barrel will come. Once you kick the barrel, a bomb will come out of it. Because of this, rather than releasing after punching, you are meant to hold. Then, as the bomb descends, you flick to kick it. Or in the case of Megamix, just release. But flicking is more fun. That's about it for the gameplay, but it just feels so gratifying. A big part of it to me is the music. Lonely Storm is a no-holds-barred all-out rock track, and that's great in its own right. But something is even better about the calmer but sadder Struck by the Rain. It matches the feel to make the game feel less intense than in Fever, but more melancholic, more poetic. It's probably my favorite track in the entire series, but most definitely my favorite vocal track. This version of Karate Man also gets an appearance in Remix 6, with an epic mullet included alongside a green design. There's also Karate Man Kicks 2, with a more intense color scheme and a song, which is cool, though I prefer the first. If we were judging on every Karate Man as one, it'd probably be the number 1 slot. That's kind of why I didn't. It'd be so unfair. In this balanced setting, Karate Man Kicks is still my second favorite. But what's above it? Well... Before we get to that point, I'd like to go over some honorable mentions. Ringside. This one is pretty fun and has sparked tons of great memes. Double Date was one of the first ones I played, but also the first game I superbed. It's got a calm, serene feel for the first, which is nice, and a similar but more exploratory feel in the farm-themed sequel. I just have always enjoyed this one, though I don't know if it needed a sequel as much as some other games did. Lockstep. This one seems to be a bit infamous within the less dedicated Rhythm Heaven people, getting mentioned as being crazy in many articles and such, but within the actual fandom, it's pretty beloved, and I can see why. It has an exciting feel, and stands out from other Keep the Beat games by having you switch patterns rather than do the same beat with occasional extra moves. The song is also pretty great, and the swing-based sequel is cool too. Clappy Trio is one of the first games in the series overall, but it's quite fun. It's comparable to Glee Club in that it's based on intervals, but individual inputs rather than timings. That's why I like it last, but it's still cool with a nice upbeat song, and I quite particularly enjoy the Snappy Trio sequel. There's a much jazzier feel to it and has a lot of lightning quick beats. The lore between it and Glee Club is also pretty cool. Love Lab. I wasn't always too partial towards this one. Really grasping the controls took a while, but as I have gotten used to it, it's quite good. And the music, while calm, is really good, especially with the vocals. Pajama Party. This one has a similar track to Love Lab, though not identical, and also includes vocals. As for the gameplay, it's quite fun, being based in different pattern formations, and the mood of bedtime is nice. Blue Bear. This one is probably the saddest game in the series, with a far more sour mood than pretty much anything else, especially excluding remixes. But the gameplay is fun, eating different patterns, and it is less sad when a twist at the end is revealed. Rapman is one with pretty fun gameplay and cool characters, especially in the more intense sequel, Rap Woman. Tap Troop is cool. It's mostly keep the beat, but with a bit slower pace than others, and has a lot of different moves in the middle parts. And lastly, Kitties. This one is just really cool, has a jazzy track, and a more loose art style. But anyway, why don't we move on to number 1? Number 1. This one is a bit more personal to me due to my experiences with it. Like Monkey Watch, I messed up a lot on it when I first played it. But I probably messed up on it, like, a lot more. I think it took me a good 20 tries or so to even get an okay. And when I managed to get a superb on it the first time, it felt crazy. Getting a perfect wasn't easy either. This one, like Monkey Watch, comes from Rhythm Heaven Fever. It's actually from fairly early in the game, hailing from the third set of the game. It's the one, the only, Air Rally.
One, two, 3, 4.
Oh boy, Air Rally. In this game, you play as Baxter, a pink dog-like creature. You ride in an airplane holding a racket. Across from you is Fordington, a yellow cat, also in an airplane, also with a racket. You fly across the sky and he throws a birdie at you. Not a living bird, but the birdie from badminton. And you have to hit it back, starting a rally in the air. Starting an air rally, if you will. An air rally of badminton in the sky. He will toss the birdie at you, and you will hit it back and forth and back and forth. It's a keep the beat type game, but its upbeat music and feel make it quite fun to me. Plus, it does have some additional wrinkles beyond this. As you fly, Fordington will occasionally shout and toss it upward, causing a larger timing window in between hits. His repeated use of this annoying sound, alongside his use of other phrases, such as numbers, are somewhat memed and considered annoying, but in a more funny, playful way. In addition to these timing mix-ups, ever so often he will fly forward, which has the same timing but makes it harder to see him. The area around you is also dynamic. It starts as just some islands, but it will become darker at points and have snow at points. All for the sake of making you rely more on the music, forcing you to feel the groove rather than use your vision. The music is great too. Throughout it all, it's upbeat, but as it goes on, it has a bit of an electric instrumental break type part, but then goes into full-fledged trumpets with a really intense upbeat feel to it. It's hard for me not to get pumped up near this section. After this, the music calms down a bit, and you do some final slow hits, ramp up the speed a bit, and deliver a final blow, with a specialized message depending on if you got the final shot or failed it. This game sadly does not get a sequel, but it does have a prequel in Megamix. In this version, the music is a lot more electronic, though a bit more bland, and it takes place in the desert for the majority. I don't find this version that neat, but it's cool to see a prequel, I guess. But of course, the more interesting facet is the remixes. In Remix 3, which is themed after food or a kitchen, they are inside a kitchen-like area, showing a tiled marble floor and glasses for drinks, but also the clouds of sprinkles on them, and the two animals wear chef hats. Also, the rackets become spatulas. This game also appears in Remix 8, and like everything else in the remix, has its colors drained and replaced with a more monochrome palette, plus is placed inside the frame of a picture. Then, in Megamix, it appears in Honeybee Remix. They're in a green grassy area with beehives visible, they wear bee-like hats, and the airplanes have stingers added to them. Overall, I just find this game so fun, exciting, and creative, and the memories of having such a hard time beating it but finally conquering it are quite fond. Thank you for watching this video, and see you next month.